up against Joseph Puglisi on Orzhov Demons. Ooh. Yes, please. Hello, hi. I'm here for this one. Thank you.
Cool. So let's talk about what's the Orzhov element of it. Looks like
black and white lands. Read.
Oh, so that I always wondered what that meant. I see one copy of Destroy Evil. And some sideboard cards. But yeah, some pretty meaningful sideboard card stuff like High Noon, which is great against Izzet and even has applications against some other decks in the field.
I've seen a couple players running that. I think it was Beardsley. I've forgotten his first name. Jake Beardsley, that's the one. It's like Joseph. No, that's not it. Yeah, Jake Beardsley playing this and, you know, having a black-red land. And they were like, what the hell's the red for? Look at the sideboard. Ah, High Noon. Gotcha.
So popular knowledge is that the Mono Black Demons deck already has a lot of good weapons against Izzet. When you add in, on top of that, the white sideboard cards, I could see this Orzhov Demons deck being one of the best picks, you know, if your goal was just to beat up on that most popular matchup, Izzet. So these players are going to have a good time if that's actually true.
Yeah, I think Frank Carson came to the same conclusion, just looking at, you know, small sample sizes granted from the previous RCs, and people playing Orzhov, whether it be Demons or even the bounce decks, had a really good conversion rate against Izzet Prowess. So
nice.
That's quite cool indeed.
So here we have Preacher of the Schism. We talked about this being a desirable card to get around a lot of the commonly played removal spells. We should also give a little attention to Jonathan Hobbs, because he's sitting here 5-1 with his own archetype, Jeskai Oculus. I think this was maybe our number 3 deck in the metagame, either number 3 or 4. 3 and 4 were both Jeskai, either Controller or Oculus. I can't remember in what order. But this is another archetype that's meant to have a lot of good weapons against Izzet Prowess. So how these two sort of anti-Izzet decks match up will be fun and interesting to see.
Yeah, I like the configuration of this list. The Steam Core Scholar, besides the excellent flavor text, is just such a sweet addition to this draw discard list. And Terza Light Shatter, it's the new card from Dragonstorm 2. It's so cool. I would have built a deck around this card, and it's great to see seeing competitive standard play as well.
These cards are so fun. They pair really, really nicely with Proft's Eidetic Memory, which is a major appeal of this deck. Just super powerful right up front, but also giving a deck that's ostensibly a graveyard deck, a totally plausible non-graveyard route to victory.
Yeah.
The Steam Core Scholar, Gabriel Nassif, calls it the blue fable of the Mirror Breaker.
I like that. So, Marauding Mako on the board alongside the Scholar. Every time you discard a card, he's going to get a little bigger. So, a threat that grows as the game goes on. Duress going to take a peek in hand. Terza, Steam Core Scholar, and what is that on the end there?
Could that? I'm not going to guess. I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure Chat could tell us. Oh yeah, it's Fear of Missing Out. That's what that is. It's the fancy, glitchy TV version thereof. Don't see too many of those running around, but here we see one in the wild. It's like we found a shiny.
Yeah, so both players mounting a pretty reasonable offense. I always, you got to give a lot of equity in the game to a mono black player who gets to untap and attack with Preacher of the Schism. That card is just very powerful, very snowball-y anytime it does go unanswered, especially when you start to pair it with things like Duress, Cut Down, all these efficient one-for-ones. But here we have Jonathan also putting together a good turn, helping hand, presumably to return the Oculus. But Joseph is ready. I was a little bit worried for Joseph when his turn was just Duress go with a full hand. I was like, oh, maybe he just has a bad draw. But no, he was just really well prepared for a flurry of action with those 2 instant speed removal spells.
Nice. It's always great when you can deal with 2 threats in one fell swoop. So, or the same threat that just won't go away. Digging for our little vampire there. I wonder if I can... oh, yeah, that one. I like that one. This pleases me, yes. So, little vampire.
That's a cool one.
Yeah. I also love it when you're able to get both triggers when the life totals are tied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the... okay, so here's the Ritual Chamber being unlocked for 6/6 Demon.
Nice.
But yeah, we talked about the pros... well, a little bit. We're touching on the pros and cons of mono black versus adding a color. But the Caves of Koilos, you can sometimes use it for profit to manage your life total with the Preacher of the Schism and make sure you're getting the mode that you want to get, and sometimes even both if you can equalize the life total.
Yeah, that is cool. Pain lands don't just help you fix, they also can get you some advantage if your cards require it. But now we have a big old 6/6. We've got card draw happening for Joseph. On the other side of things, Jonathan doesn't have as cool a board, but Prophet's Eidetic Memory is down, so drawing extra cards, fear of missing out, and the Mako doing their best to hold the fort, and Glacial Dragon Hunt, I believe. It's going to try and kill this. Well, the only decent target is the 1/1. Donk. Bye-bye. So what's that? 4 cards drawn? Oh, no.
So it's each discard is pumping the Mako, and then an additional 2 for the Proft's trigger. Still not enough to attack into the 6/6 Demon. So pumping the brakes a little bit.
My brain gave Prophet's Eidetic Memory more abilities than it had. I was like, oh yeah, it draws you an extra card, right? No. No, it doesn't.
Up front it does.
Up front, yeah, but not each turn. Yeah, there's too much text on that thing. But being able to build powerhouses now out of this will help. Does need to figure out how to deal with this flyer, though, as he falls down to 5. Ugh. Retro Spaghetti-O. Anything of note there to deal with the demon, Jonathan? I'm guessing by the long think, that's a no. Nope, that's gonna do it. Jonathan Hobbs not able to deal with the big demon there from Joseph's side of things. So let's take a look at the sideboards and see what Jeskai Oculus has to defeat a couple Orzhov demons. Oh, there's a Breach the Multiverse? Oh man, these are like all my favorite cards, Reed.
Yeah, that's a really fun one. I suspect this is not the matchup for it, but I would be happy to be proven wrong about that.
But it's still cool.
Wow, Elenda, Saint of Dusk.
Yeah.
Talk about cool cards coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, everyone forgets that there are some absolute bangers from the recent sets. It's nice to see them being played here, even if it's just in the sideboard. But yeah, what's Jonathan going to be looking towards most, do you think?
Sideboarding with Jeskai Oculus is very challenging because there's a few ways you can approach it. You can think, okay, what are the good cards against my opponent's deck? You can think, what cards do I need to beat my opponent's sideboard cards? Mm-hmm. Or you can think, well, can I reconfigure my deck to care less about my opponent's sideboard cards? And any combination of those 3 motivations is totally valid in terms of building your sideboard strategy. So we talked earlier about most decks in the field have 2 Ghost Vacuums in their sideboard. That's just a super, super common configuration. Mm-hmm. So if you come to expect that every opponent's going to be bringing in 2 Ghost Vacuums against you, well, what's your plan? Do you want to bring in a Braid to beat the Ghost Vacuum? Do you want to move away from your Helping Hand package? Mm-hmm. Do you want to just kind of take your medicine and accept that it's going to be a good card against you? So one thing that the Jeskai Oculus deck can often turn to is just sideboarding in some non-graveyard threats like Chandra Spark Hunter, Winter Night Stories, just sort of more firepower for a very heavily interactive matchup that might come down to top decks. Alternatively, you can start to round out your interactive suite to match up well against what your opponent's up to. I wouldn't be surprised if Destroy Evil comes in, since it does destroy the big demons, the Preacher of the Schism, the Unholy Annex, if you choose to go that route. So I think that's what I'd be thinking about if I was Jonathan.
Sideboarding is an art in and of itself. Definitely a skill that you need to learn as you dabble in more competitive Magic. I know when I started playing, it was all just best of one, you know, because that's what Arena had. And then someone's like, hey, yeah, you got to learn to sideboard now. And I was like, no, I like this deck. I don't want to play another one.
For sure, if you are like a pretty strong Magic player in your, in your home or local scene, and you're thinking about making the leap into tournament play, sideboarding is one of the areas you should give the most attention to, because if you just kind of wing it, don't really have a plan, you can wind up certainly leaving a lot of value on the table, or sometimes even hurting yourself, weakening your deck if you, if you wind up coming with an unbalanced configuration, or just not giving it the proper attention that it deserves.
And then knowing how far to push it and when to, I don't know, some decks don't sideboard at all, so.
Right, yeah, totally. So both players mulliganing.
Yeah, looks like we're going to 6. I really do like this list. Carsey Revenant, Unstoppable Slasher, kind of lost its spot back to Preacher of the Schism after taking it from Preacher of the Schism. So that's been a fun little tussle there for the 3-drop slot.
The Demons deck, they have a, an instant win combo available to them if they want to tap into it, which is turn 3 Unstoppable Slasher, turn 4 Bloodletter of Aclazotz to double the life loss. It does not look like Joseph is taking that approach, opting just for Archfiend of the Dross and Shoulder the Apocalypse, which are a little bit stronger as standalone cards, but maybe a little bit less fun as well.
It is cool when you get to do it at least once. Cruel Claws Heist. Card that not many decks can play, but in a basically mono-black deck, it's right at home. So Tersa Light Shadow, got Steamcore Scholar, 2 Destroy Evils, and what's that, Helping Hand? So
holy smokes, that's a 4 of in this deck. So 4 Duress, 4 Cruel Claws Heist, 1 Intimidation Tactics. That's 9 discard spells. That is a lot. That's dedication to the craft.
Oh boy.
But I do really like that Joseph has chosen that configuration instead of the more common Deep Cavern Bat. I always felt the Deep Cavern Bat was a little bit out of place in the Mono Black Demons deck, so I much prefer this, and I would be really excited to bring a deck like Joseph's to the tournament here if I was playing.
All right, so we do have a pretty lengthy judge call here, we've been told, so we are going to chat a little bit and jump ahead and give you the outcome of the judge call and what it was about, if we are able to do that. But speaking of the Deep Cavern Bats, when I saw that being played so much, I was like, that can't be the best option there, right? There has to be something else. Like it's a 1/1. It'll die to almost anything. If you sneeze at it, it'll fall over. But
yeah, and having played a lot with that card, sometimes it's a little bit of an uncomfortable gameplay dynamic where you wind up building this house of cards. Oh, I'm going to take your really, really key piece with my Deep Cavern Bat. But then if you play a long game where it's just sitting there, it means anything that your opponent ever draws to answer your bat, your house of cards crumbles, and that's not a good feeling. So the way I tend to approach it is, if you can construct your deck such that the 1/1 flying is valuable to you, like it's perfect in the Dimir deck, Enduring Curiosity, Kaito, whatever it might be, to pay you off for the 1/1 flying body, then I'm all for it. But in the Demons deck, where you're just going to play it on turn 2, it's going to sit there not doing much, waiting for Disaster to strike, I would much rather have Cruel Claws Heist. I think that's a good call.
All right, well, we are good to jump back in here, and judge call was resolved. And we are going to go to now, what are we on? Turn 3 for... Who started off here? It was Jonathan, right? Yeah.
Wow,
It's a land,
yeah,
yeah.
no play at all for Jonathan Hobbs.
Suspicious. Soulstone Sanctuary. Land number 3 here for Joseph, who is up a game as it stands.
Cycling.
Yeah.
No play.
Oof, that's rough.
Yeah, a little bit of maybe discouragement coming through in his facial expression and body language.
Yeah.
Not giving up. I mean, there's no pressing emergency. It's not like Joseph has a 6/6 flying attacking like he did in game 1. So you can, if you can just tread water and wait for the top of your library to deliver, you can absolutely still play the game.
Hey, that's a pretty good delivery here. Found land number 3 and now has found Steam Core Scholar. So gets to take a look at a couple more cards and gets to bin an Oculus.
Regional championship players from table 109.
It died, but it did its job. We don't hate that.
Please enter your results.
So cut down taking care of the only threat on board. Both players still sitting at 20. No creature has stuck as of yet. And one Destroy Evil was taken, but we do know that there was a second copy of it.
So Joseph's hand is Shieldred, a great option on 4 mana. Unholy Annex / Ritual Chamber, Destroy Evil, and Cut Down. And he actually is giving enough respect to the Abhorrent Oculus that he decides to pass with Destroy Evil available. Now, if he doesn't have to use it, he could activate the Soulstone Sanctuary, which is somewhat appealing if you're eventually going to play Unholy Annex. However, I'd be nervous about just, giving Jonathan extra time to draw out of an awkward opening.
Yeah. All right. FOMO, Helping Hand, dead.
Similar to game 1, that double removal spell turn.
Destroy Evil takes care of the big eyeball, and Cut Down taking care of fear of missing out.
So choosing here between Unholy Annex or Shieldred, do you value the life total or do you value the cards?
Maybe try bait out the Destroy Evil? It's still sitting in hand, right, for Jonathan?
Oh, that's a known Destroy Evil from the earlier Cruel Claws heist? Okay, I love that
going for it. Cool.
That you pointed that out for us.
Yeah, Destroy Evil taking care of Shieldred, so maybe the big demon is what he wanted all along. He's getting there. He's got 6 mana next turn if the lands play nice. Oculus and our friendly face down card. There is the Ritual Chamber. Is that the side we unlocked?
Yep, that's right. 6/6 demon. So a tenuous position for Joseph. In theory, the 6/6 demon can hold off Jonathan's creatures. Eventually, he can unlock the Unholy Annex and start getting ahead that way. However, there's just so much that can go wrong when Abhorrent Oculus is allowed to run free.
Yeah.
I mean, you can manifest another Abhorrent Oculus.
Oh,
you
that's
can,
the worst.
Yeah, there's a million things. You're stocking your graveyard, exercise
so
on the
good.
demon, unlocking an attack for 7. So, yeah, scary stuff.
Yeah, some of the decks play what is it now? The Djinn, Haughty Djinn. When the game goes long and they just, all of a sudden pop out an 8/4, whatever his toughness is, that's just, it's backbreaking.
Yep.
All right, things looking good here now for Jonathan Hobbs. Orzhov Demons, on the other hand, not so much. Needs some more action here from Joseph Puglisi's side of things, and looks like it is a nope, undo.
Yeah, so his face value plays, okay, I have 6 mana, 3 to unlock the Unholy Annex, 3 to cast the Preacher. I think he might actually be dead if he does that because he would lose 2 life and then get hit in the air. Presuming that Jonathan Hobbs has Delirium, the fear of missing out can give a second attack to the Abhorrent Oculus.
Yeah, that's just GG for that one then. Woo!
An interesting game, but in the end, unanswered Oculus just tends to reign supreme.
Eyeballs win games. Especially because they're so resilient in that even if you are able to kill it on your turn, they've already replaced themselves potentially with the 2/2. Granted, it's not always a creature that they hit, but yeah, certainly a tough thing to get rid of.
That's exactly right, and you saw how Joseph really respected that. He declined an opportunity to just play out, a 3 or 4 mana sorcery card, instead passing the turn with Destroy Evil. Unfortunately for him, once the Oculus starts entering the battlefield, it tends to just happen again and again because every redundant copy of Helping Hand and Recommission can get it back. So it turned out that Jonathan had basically one more copy of Oculus than Joseph had removal spells, and that works out well.
Off to the races it goes. And you don't have that much left to fend off attacks from the 5/5, even just by itself. So to sideboards we go again, getting treated to a third game here in our regional championship. Thank you everyone for joining us as we go through our 9 rounds of action today. Tomorrow, a little less Magic to play, but so much more to play for. Let's remind everyone what it is that the players are playing for this weekend. There's a bunch of cash prizes up for grabs. There are spots at the Pro Tour, and also for the 2 finalists, besides, $20,000, that's pretty sweet, spots at the World Championship. That's a pretty big thing for a Magic player, isn't it, Reed?
It sure is. This is a great tournament for for those who chasing the Pro Tour invite is the single best path to get there, with 32 Pro Tour invites available this weekend. But also, if that's not your ambition, this is just a sweet standalone tournament. You saw it, $20,000 for first place. Amazing. Prizes going down all the way to 128th. So, if you're in the mix, you get a decent day 2 finish, you're going to be really happy when all's said and done.
Absolutely. Personally, I obviously do not make a career out of playing Magic, but it was really nice when I was able to cash a couple of events that I played in. So, yeah, it's a pretty good feeling. So come out and play with us at the next SCG Con at the Spotlight Series in Indianapolis. It's going to be a great time there indeed. And yeah, even if you just want to come and hang out with friends, play some Commander, go meet some artists. These are really awesome events put on here by Star City Games. And a big thank you to our sponsors once again, Dragon Shield and Beckett, for helping us bring you all the action here this weekend. Let's go. Intimidation tactics. What you got in hand? This is the artifact or creature?
Yeah, so it's really functionally similar to Dreams of Steel and Oil. Both cards can take a creature or artifact out of the opponent's hand, but basically Intimidation Tactics has cycling for 3 mana, whereas Dreams of Steel and Oil can exile a card from the graveyard. So you might see a player opt for either of the 2 similar options.
So we've got Chandra there, Profts into the Floodmaw, a couple lands.
Importantly, it cannot take Proft's Eidetic Memory, which I think would be the card that Joseph would most want to take. Like, let's say if this was a Thoughtseize in a fictional example, fictional illegal example.
What do you mean?
But here it takes the FOMO. It's just the cheapest card. It makes sense.
Yeah, and also don't really want to chuck an eyeball into the graveyard just yet. There's no way to get it back as things stand just yet for Jonathan Hobbs, but I bet you he'll find one of them.
Yeah, I'm expecting Proft's Eidetic Memory to be the pick here.
Yeah. Unless he just goes double-double. Whoa! Love it. Tutoress, get out of here. Floodmaw and Profts in the bin.
We did say Joseph was dedicated to his craft in terms of discard spells. So here a flurry of just shredding the opponent's hand.
Oh, man. I bet you he looked at that hand and was like, yep, I'll keep. Gross.
Now, I'm actually like a little bit surprised to see Jonathan cast the Marauding Mako. I would have been tempted to cycle it, just thinking like, hey, this is a 1/1 creature. I don't have all that much support. It's somewhat likely that Joseph has a removal spell ready for it.
Or
I
5.
might have just you know, tried to recover some of the damage that had been done to my hand. But here, curving nicely into the Chandra, this is a plan as well.
All right, what do we pick here on Chandra Spark Hunter? Looks like we're just going to make our vroom vroom. Can't remember what it is she makes. It's a motorbike of sorts, I think.
A 3/2 colorless vehicle artifact creature token with crew 1.
Can we call it a bike? She's on a bike.
It is most definitely a bike.
Oh, going for the +2. You may sack an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Okay, neat. See, it's a bike. It's like a hover bike from Tron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not the archetype from the movie, just in case any Magic players got confused there for a second.
Joseph, really, really, you know, thankful there to have one of his direct Planeswalker removal spells.
Yeah.
Not to say that it was like a lucky break for him to have that, because he kind of demonstrated that he was prepared for the Chandra based on the way he navigated his discard spells early. So credit where credit's due that he's just picking apart Jonathan Hobbs' game plan, you know, one piece at a time here.
Blot out, one of fun of in the sideboard. And now Soulstone Sanctuary is a critter, along with Archfiend of the Dross. Here's another card that we don't really see all that often.
Really nice use of the Glacial Dragonfire there from the graveyard. 6 mana is a lot, of course, but when it's free value in a game that's running on thin margins, get to kill off the Soulstone Sanctuary.
Yep.
That's perfect. He is going to need to find, I think, a direct, clean answer to the Archfiend of the Dross, or else he's not going to be able to keep his head above water. But so far, a pretty good turn.
Yeah. Tersa Light Shatter hits the board here alongside Prophetic Memory. So digging as much as possible. Is down at 9, though. So things are getting pretty dicey here up against a 6/6 in the air.
Right. So if you imagine Joseph has a removal spell for the Tersa, that would put Jonathan down to 7 and then to 1.
Oof.
So now even a flying chump blocker is not going to be enough to save him. It really has to be a direct answer to the Archfiend.
And that is going to do it.